Parliament exploded again yesterday, at this time not over deficits or jobs, but over crime and bail reform. Pierre Poilievre came out swinging, accusing Mark Carney and the Liberal government of keeping dangerous offenders on the streets with what he called liberal bail. He framed it as a national crisis, citing tragic headlines and demanding that Carney scrap the system entirely. But what happened next flipped the script. Carney didn't just defend his reforms, he delivered a sharp rebuke, making it crystal clear that Canada's justice system would not be dictated by American imports. This is not based on cut-and-paste American bail laws, Carney declared. This is a Canadian law that works. That one line may go down as a defining moment. Why? Because it draws a clear line between two very different visions: Carney's Canada First, evidence-based reforms versus Poilievre's copy-and-paste approach that borrows from the United States.
Mr. Speaker, crime victims don't want the Prime Minister's sympathy. They want to know why he's broken his promise. They want to know why liberal bail remains in place, allowing for the same repeat offenders to offend again and again. The body of a woman was found in the last few days in Saint-Jérôme, Quebec, killed by her partner, who had been arrested 30 times before but released on liberal bail. We owe the Prime Minister finally scrap liberal bail, or better yet, get out of the way so that we can do the jobs ourselves.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this government is bringing forward comprehensive bail reform. This comprehensive bail reform is based on extensive consultations with the provinces and territories. It's based on extensive discussions with law enforcement. It is based on evidence. It is not based on cut-and-paste American bail laws. It's a bail law that works. We are tough on crime and firm on the rights of Canadians.
To understand why this exchange matters, we need to take a step back. For months, Poilievre has hammered away on bail, arguing that repeat offenders are walking free, crime is rising, and Canadians are less safe. It's a powerful argument emotionally because it points to real tragedies. But when you look closer, his solutions aren't truly Canadian. They're modeled after America's tough-on-crime laws. And here's the irony: America's bail system is one of the most criticized in the world. It's punitive. It clogs jails with low-risk offenders who simply can't afford bail, and it disproportionately punishes the poor and marginalized, all without making communities safer. These are the very problems Canada has spent decades trying to avoid. Carney knew exactly what he was doing when he rejected that model. By calling out cut-and-paste American bail laws, he was exposing the Conservative plan as imported politics, slogans, not solutions. He was saying Canadians don't need U.S.-style fixes, they need reforms that work here, in our communities, for our justice system. And the government's approach reflects that. Carney laid it out clearly: comprehensive bail reform built on consultations with provinces, territories, and law enforcement. Not quick headlines, but months of negotiation and research. A system that's tough on repeat offenders, yet fair and evidence-driven. To fully grasp why Carney's not cut-and-paste American law line is so significant, we need to look at Canada's justice tradition. Unlike the United States, Canada has long sought to balance punishment with rehabilitation, enforcement with rights, and safety with fairness. Our Charter of Rights and Freedoms enshrines protections that ensure the justice system doesn't just punish, it safeguards civil liberties. That doesn't mean Canada hasn't struggled. Previous governments, both Liberal and Conservative, have wrestled with bail reform. For decades, courts and communities have debated how to keep violent offenders off the streets while avoiding a system that criminalizes poverty or overcrowds prisons with low-risk individuals. What makes Carney's approach different is his insistence that reforms must be Canadian-made, tailored to our legal framework, our social fabric, and our values. Poilievre, by contrast, leans on the American playbook: harsher bail conditions, less judicial discretion, and more pretrial detention. It sounds tough, but the results in the U.S. speak for themselves: mass incarceration, systemic inequities, and soaring costs that don't actually deliver safer communities. Carney is reminding Canadians that safety doesn't come from mimicry, it comes from solutions designed for us, not imported from elsewhere. And that's the heart of the clash. On one side, you have a vision of justice shaped by evidence, consultation, and Canadian values. On the other, you have slogans drawn from a U.S. model that has already proven deeply flawed. This clash also reveals something deeper about Canada's political divide. Poilievre thrives on outrage. His strategy is to amplify fear and frustration, painting every policy as broken, every institution as failing, and every Liberal move as reckless. It's effective politics because anger grabs attention, but it's not the same as governing. Carney, on the other hand, is positioning himself as the grown-up in the room. His background as an economist, a former central banker, and now Prime Minister gives him credibility as a problem solver. When Carney says his reforms are based on evidence, he's leaning into that identity, not a populist, not a showman, but a builder of systems. And here's why the American law angle matters so much. For years, Conservatives have looked south for inspiration, whether on crime, taxes, or trade. But Carney is challenging that reflex, saying Canada doesn't need to be a mirror image of the United States. At a time when U.S. politics is more polarized than ever, that contrast is politically powerful. So what we witnessed wasn't just another parliamentary skirmish, it was a larger fight over identity and direction. Do Canadians want justice policies written for us, by us, evidence-based, collaborative, and Canadian-made, or do we want American-style politics dressed up as solutions? Carney's line, not cut and paste American bail laws, resonates because it speaks to something beyond crime. It speaks to sovereignty. It says Canada can shape its own path without blindly copying others. And that's why Poilievre looked rattled. His critique was sharp, but when pressed for a real alternative, the Conservative plan looked exactly as Carney described it: a U.S. import, not a Canadian solution. At the heart of this clash lies a choice. Pierre Poilievre offers endless criticism, dramatic language, and solutions borrowed from America. Mark Carney offers Canadian reforms crafted with provinces, guided by law enforcement, and rooted in evidence. This is the battle Canadians are watching unfold in Parliament. Slogans versus solutions, imports versus independence, anger versus action. And here at Immersion Headline we'll keep bringing you the sharpest analysis of these debates, because these moments aren't just political theater, they're shaping the future of our country. Don't miss what happens next. Immersion Headline for breaking analysis, in-depth coverage, and the stories behind the sound bites.